What's going on, everybody? It's Joel Simmons out of the Tenacity Foundation with It Starts With Me. We're back here for another awesome episode. And today we have Dan Stillman. He's going to be coming forward in just a few moments. So we're definitely looking forward to that because he's got some good stuff. Dan Stillman will be up here in a minute. But listen, check it out. On Mondays, remember my co-host with the Community Beacon, Mike will be here on Mondays. You can check him out on Mike Seville YouTube. All right. And that's going to be the motivational Mike. He's giving out great tips and tricks and different things. You know, he is the business king. He is the real estate king. So you definitely want to check that show out. We're back here every single Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern for It Starts With Me. And we'll have great guests coming on all the time to inspire people through transitional phenomenons inside of their life. And also on Fridays, we are here with the Community Beacon. Yes, Community Beacon, where we hope that we are able to give the greatest amount of lessons, education, and open up the doorways for people to experience a more freer mindset, right? And become liberated, that they can achieve the highest level of themselves, the best version of themselves. Now, let's talk about Dan Stillman for a moment. Dan Stillman is from New Jersey. His business name is Holistic WellCare Advisors. He's a certified positive psychology practitioner. I love their stuff. They've got great information, right? Transformational mindset, integrative medicine health coach, and he has implemented his own experience and knowledge through www.holisticwellcare.coach by teaching life concepts that aren't commonly taught at home, in school, or in the workplace. At this time, let us welcome Dan Stillman.
Hey, Joel, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely doing well, Dan. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I
Living
love
the
it.
dream, man.
I love it. Living the dream, man. That is a lot to say, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's definitely a lot to say, and it's definitely wasn't the case 20 years ago. So I'm grateful that, I was able to get to a point where I could say those words.
Sounds like you were striving pretty hard at getting there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we all have our stories, right? We all come from different backgrounds, and I had to deal with some adversity and trauma growing up because I grew up in kind of an alternative lifestyle. I'm 52 years old and I'm born 1970, and in the 70s, a lot different than 2020s for sure. As far as how you're raised, disciplinary actions, ways people looked at let's just say like alternative lifestyles. It just was a different era back then, and as a result of that, growing up in an alternative lifestyle, my mother came out of the closet in 1974. And during that time, people who were gay in 19 up until that time, there's a book called the DSM, you might be familiar with it, that therapists and psychologists use. People who were gay were considered to have a mental illness. They were actually in that book. And, my mom, born 1945, born gay, living this lifestyle, hiding it, being in the closet, couldn't be in the closet anymore. And when she came out of the closet in 1974, being one of the pioneers of, doing the marches and doing those things, was probably one of the bravest things that she could do. Me being an only child, it was difficult for me because that was a secret I had to keep. Because growing up in a non-Jewish, a blue-collar neighborhood, being the only Jewish kid, I had enough problems with anti-Semitism, people spitting in my hair, being the shortest kid, and then, God forbid, if they found out my mother was gay, that would have been horrible. Like, my life would have been over, right? And dealing with adversity, because when my mom decided to come out of the closet, me being the only child, I had three cousins, my mother's sister. When that happened, they decided they didn't want to have anything to do with us anymore. And that was kind of the first adversity that I had to deal with, not knowing, being 4 years old, that was all of a sudden I was developing the beliefs and the shame of something that had happened that I had no result of, control over, but didn't realize that slowly over time, subconsciously, I was developing this. What's wrong with me? Did I do something wrong? You know, why doesn't people like me? Those type of beliefs that are formed when you're a child. And dealing, my mother had some mental issues she had to deal with. So, as you may be familiar with, Joel, because you probably grew up in the same era, disciplinary action was a lot different then. Spankings were like the norm. And, when you get spanked as a kid, that has a deep impact on you emotionally, physically. And, that coupled with what I had to deal with, the abandonment issue, was something I had to struggle with, So, fast forward dealing with all those issues and coming to terms with that shame was kind of a difficult situation in my teenage years and early into my adulthood, until finally it all came crashing in, where I finally took action to do the introspective work to get to the point, like I said, to say that I'm living the dream, which I'm very lucky, because most people don't have that opportunity. So I'm very lucky about that.
That's impressive. That's impressive. I kind of want to hear what living the dream means to you. But there's so many other questions that I have. I guess
Right.
I want to start off there. What does living the dream mean to you?
Living the dream means thriving every day instead of just surviving, being true to myself, looking in the mirror, giving myself a high five and saying, you know what? It was true what you always said when you were going through that adversities. You are capable of so much more. And just be having the understanding that, I could live in gratitude, live in the moment, not basically be caught in two different polarities, which I most people live in, that I struggled with. It's either I was waking up every day afraid that I was going to lose what I have, or I wasn't going to get what I want or needed. And now I'm not stuck in either of those polarities. Now there's times where I wake up tired, just like everybody else, or I'm feeling sick, or I'm hungry, or whatever. And I could have that trigger of, you know, making that choice of, not feeling so good and wallow in that. But, living the dream for me is basically knowing that I have the tools in my tool chest and I have the choice, that I could be vulnerable with myself, that I love myself enough to know that those feelings are normal, that I'm going to get through whatever I'm getting through. And that, if I threw all my problems out on the table, and there was a bunch of people and we all threw our problems on the table, 100% of the time I would take my problems back, because there's always somebody out there who has it worse off than you.
That's a really good way of putting it. Just in a few words. Just you saying thriving versus surviving. I've used that same phrase before. When explaining things to other people. You want to get to the point where you're no longer just surviving. Paycheck to paycheck, moment to moment, not knowing where your next meal will come from, not knowing how things will work out with you and those people that are so important to you, to the point where you're actually thriving. You're stowing money away, you're investing. The people that are important to you, you're communicating openly, and there's great dialogue between you all. You don't have to worry about hiding things any longer. And then the other three things that you really, really keyed out on was being confident, having those tools in your tool chest and being able to use them whenever you need them, as well as being grateful. And I love it. You said balanced. Balanced. That was powerful. That's powerful. I've read in a certain place, I think it was in Ecclesiastes, maybe, I think it was, but it said that an unjust balance is an abomination before the Lord. And I just thought about that thing for years. My mother and I had talked about it, and we were like, we just need to be balanced.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important to have balance in your life. Obviously you're going to have days where you feel unbalanced, but just to know that the emotions that you feel are normal. and that it's okay to feel those feelings. What's not normal is to get stuck in those emotions. If you get stuck in those negative emotions, then you're going to spiral down, and then it's just, really not going to be worthwhile for you. But more importantly, is to be able to communicate what's going on with you, because, there's this energy that we have between human beings. Like, you could tell when somebody's off, right? And then we all have our own insecurities, and basically we could say to, we could make someone feel a little bit insecure and say, did I do something wrong? It's like, it's really important to be able to communicate really what's going on with you. And which really leads into one of the most important things that I learned is when you're introduced to your higher self that you never knew existed, and you're basically at that place in your life where you're not worried about what other people think of you anymore, that you're good there, then I think that's, one of the most important things that really you want to achieve and understand, that makes you want to say to yourself, you know what, I am living the dream every day, and I'm very grateful and lucky that I've gotten to the point where I am. You know,
I love it. I've never actually asked somebody what living the dream means to them. So this was the first time because, like I said, inside the fire department, I hear it all the time. Guys are walking around, living the dream, living the dream. And I think that that's going to be something I'm going to do from now on. As soon as someone says that, I'm like, what does that mean to you? So that's awesome. I love your answer.
thank
But
you.
with your answer, I declare that I'm living the dream too.
Awesome. And
Yeah,
what does
I
it
don't know
mean
about
for
all the
you?
rest of those guys.
What does it mean? What does it mean for you living the dream?
Well, I am 100% saying based off of what you're saying the dream is, then that to me seems like, that I'm living that way.
Oh, awesome.
I'm not in survival mode. I'm
Yeah,
definitely thriving. I feel 100%, 110% confident in what I'm able to do, what I'm able to accomplish. I feel like I'm balanced, and just like you, it's not that I don't have these swings. There's certain times where I'm like, this morning, I just felt like, oh man, what's going on? The last couple of days whooped my butt. you know,
yeah,
I was exhausted, but I'm very grateful. I'm very conscious about being grateful, and I love life,
that's awesome.
you know.
Yeah,
So, yeah, so with your statement of living the dream, I can say I'm living the dream. But before that, with all those other guys, I wonder what they meant, and I would not agree to it. No, because I just wondered what they meant. But I like what you said.
thank you.
So, I mean, that you dropped the bomb and you said it so easily, and maybe the listeners out there, some of my listeners know I'm going to go back to it, but 1974, 4-year-old Dan is now dealing with not not a child. It's not like you're growing up and then all of a sudden your child comes out of the closet. It's like I'm witnessing my mother go through something that is really, really difficult for anybody to
Yeah,
go through. I mean,
yeah.
this is life metamorphosis.
Yeah,
Talk about
I didn't understand it at the time, obviously, because I'm 4 years old. So to me, it's like a normal thing. And one of the saving graces is my mom met my godmother, who, was, if you believe that you have guardian angels that live on Earth, well, she was one of my guardian angels, right? She was my inspiration. So I grew up with she, just biologically, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Joel. Even though you biologically you have a family member, doesn't mean that there's somebody who's not biologically related to you that could know you better than the biological person, like a friend who it's just because I think it transcends like your spirit. Like, I'm very spiritual, so I believe, there's that connection with your spirit. And this lady gave me a bunch of inspiration where my mother thought maybe I wasn't going to turn out to be as successful as I am, right? She didn't have that confidence, probably because, which I know is her own insecurities that she had to deal with, right? We like to kind of transpose that onto somebody else because of our own insecurities. This lady was like, no, 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 you're wrong. He's going to be great, and she was always like an inspiration for me to help me, deal with the things that I had to deal with, and sheltered me in a way which was great. I don't think if I didn't have that, I might have gone down the wrong path, instead of always looking in the mirror when I was dealing with a lot of adversity, saying to myself, you're capable of so much more. You're capable of so much more. And I just kept telling myself that over and over and over again, that I was capable of so much more, even though I felt there was a hole in my heart, until finally at 22 is when I hit bottom, and then I started to do the introspective work and fill that hole up and really learn to love myself.
Mm. So 22 hit bottom to rise to love. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's powerful, man. Yeah, you know what you're saying right there means a whole lot. So I mean, while we're down there in that rabbit hole, so to speak, this guardian angel of yours. This is a powerful statement. And I read also in another place where it stated that a friend can sometimes stick closer than a brother, and it is that what it means. It's like, hey, listen, blood relations are blood relations, but the thing about blood relations is everyone in blood relations feels as if they have to love you because they are blood related.
Yeah.
You know, when you find a friend, though, they know they don't have to love you.
Exactly. Yeah, you're 100% right.
So
You're
when they give their all for you, it's because they want to. And I think that that's powerful. And that's how come sometimes friends stick closer than a brother, is because your friend wants to be there, and this your godmother becoming your guardian angel, which I'm sure she never said I'm your guardian angel, but that's probably something, retrospectively, introspectively, you're looking at it and you're like, wow, she was she was it.
Yeah.
she, she helped bring me over, and I think that that's powerful. So the question is, do you believe in programming? Because I feel like the statement that you gave referencing her was, he's going to be great. No, he's going to be great. And it's like, that sounded like programming, and very intuitively, I think that that means a lot, especially in children.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I truly believe that our beliefs shape us, and our beliefs, our thoughts have a direct influence on our beliefs, and our thoughts are directly related to the feelings that we have, which then produce an action and then a result. I guess the best way I could describe or give you an example is if you got bit by a dog when you were little, right? You grow up having a fear of dogs. So when you see a dog, right, the belief is all dogs are bad. The feeling is I'm scared of the dog. The action is I'm going to run away. And the result is that, you know, I'm never going to go over to my friend's house because he has a dog. And then the cycle repeats itself. It's the same thing when you ask about the programming. If somebody tells you something over and over again, oh, you're going to make it, you're going to be somebody, you're going to do well, that is, you're building new neural pathway, to, and a belief that yes, you are going to make it. So it was very important for me to hear that, because you talked about a balance. Maybe my negative things of I'm not good enough or my self-esteem was maybe at like 60, 70%, but just having that 30% of you're going to make it, you're going to be okay, might have given me that tool, so that when I did look in the mirror, something subconsciously told me, heard her voice say that, which then resonated in me thinking, you're capable of so much more. You're capable of so much more, which helped me, in the long run, kept me on the straight and narrow. Even though, I went through the same upbringing, like my upbringing was pretty normal. Like I played baseball, I did all those things, but it was still, I always had this emptiness inside, but it just, luckily for me, some people who have experienced the things that I've experienced, like getting the crap kicked out of me by my mother, getting the crap kicked out of me by people who didn't like me because I was Jewish, because I was the shortest kid and spit in my hair and do all those things. I consider myself very lucky and holding that secret that, God forbid, if somebody found out my mother was gay back in the 70s, right? Just, I just think like I was very lucky because most people could have went down the road where they started to do heroin or they did some heavy drugs and they really couldn't handle their life and they wound up committing suicide. So, that ties into when I say I'm living the dream, you know, I'm living the dream because I'm a survivor. I made it, thank God. And why I do the work that I do now is because I want to give back to those people. I want to help those people who are between the ages of 20 and 29 learn the life skills through positive psychology that were never taught, that you never knew existed, because when you turn 30, you're making some pretty important decisions in your life, such as where do I want to live? Do I want to get married? What career do I want to go into? Because society has a big influence on you and says that you need to do these things, but you don't need to do these things, you know?
Mic drop.
I'm passionate about this, man. I'm really
Yeah,
passionate about this.
I love it. I love it, man. I love for you to check out some of the work that I'm doing that we're doing with the young people. We've got a program called Find Your Superhero. I'd love for you to check that out. Maybe we'll send you
Absolutely.
a video or something because we have a like passion. Listen, man, that was powerful, extremely powerful, because you painted this picture. At first, I started to hear you talking about, you know, playing baseball and doing all these normal things, right? Quote unquote, air quote, normal things that, people do when they go to school. They go play basketball, they go play football, they go play baseball, and then you started to talk about unfortunately, it is somewhat of a normal thing. I got into a bunch of fights and I didn't win all of my fights, that's for sure, and I remember that quite frankly. But, that was like a part of life growing up as an adolescent, especially, for you as being a Jewish boy with a gay mother. For me, it was being a black boy, and attempting to come up in this area where if you weren't, you were either just being black wasn't enough. You had to be black enough,
Yeah.
and it was just like, and my mother was always attempting to get me out of the projects and to refine me. And, I'm getting this refinement at home, but when I go to school, I have to come across as like this kind of thug like guy, because if not, then I am quote unquote not black enough. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
you're not even black. Well, what are you talking about? What do you know about being black? So that inward racial tension that I suffered coming up by being this light skinned, red bone type of guy, it had a great effect on the character of individual that stands before you today or that sits before you today. So I get what you're saying, man.
Listen, it's tough. It's tough when you can't be your true authentic self out of fear that people aren't going to like you or they're going to ridicule you. And that's a prison. That is a horrible prison to be in, because not only are you're trying to please somebody else because, our parents or whatever, because they think they know what's best for us, but they're really not listening to us because, they're like I said before, how my mother would say something out of her own fear and it came out of a good place of trying to protect me, but that's not really wasn't really helpful or beneficial. Some of the things that our parents do for us, like some parents will coddle and do everything for their kids. Now, on the outside, that looking in, that may be a good thing, but in the long run, that's going to hurt you, right? Because then you don't learn how to do things on your own. It's the same thing. Like, I think everybody has good intentions for what they want to do and what they want for you, but you really have to look at the difference between process praise and people praise. You know, you want to praise people on their process and encourage them to find their own talents, what makes them special, what makes them unique, and what and encourage them to follow that so they can contribute to the world and try and make this world a better place. But and that's my mission, is to try, like I said, is to help teach people that you don't have to follow society's so-called rules and regulations and what you hear on social media and how you're influenced on TV and what people tell you. What you need to learn is to really learn how to love yourself, how to find gratitude, how to learn to live in the moment, not let perfectionism, unrealistic expectations, and self centered fear and those negative, unintelligent thinking beliefs that are right behind that, that I'm not good enough. What's wrong with me? I did something wrong. Why don't people like me? And become your true authentic self so you can live the dream just like you and I are, Joel.
Awesome. Wonderful wordsmithing, beautiful words. Absolutely awesome. You must be a speaker as well. I love it.
Well, that's part of my story. When I was 22, you know, when I hit bottom, I went into AA, you know, because that was one of the things that I thought that is what I needed. Not that I was an alcoholic. I just didn't know where to go, and something whispered in my ear, you know, that said, "Go to AA." You know, and that was from the night before when I got down on my hands and knees and prayed to God, "Please help me." And I woke up the next day, and that was my aha moment. But I guess I got good at speaking because I used to go to speaker meetings for 4 years from 1992 to 1996 and share my story. So I think that that helped me, you know, be able to share my story and be able to talk a little eloquently, a little bit.
I think it's beautiful, man. You're a wealth of knowledge and experience, and your vibe, like my co-host would say, your vibrations, they're real. It's authentic. You know, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
I I enjoy you so much. I'd love to have an engagement where the two of us would be able to speak to a group of, young people, teenagers, adolescents, and young adults, and be able to just bounce off each other, because I would be curious at what we would end up saying. I mean, a completely unplanned type of
Yeah,
thing, just knowing we're going to go in and help these young people, and we're going to get 1 hour to 2 hours max. And
yeah.
it's just going to be, we're going to bounce off each other and see where we go. You know what I mean?
That would be awesome. I'm ready. Let's do it tomorrow.
You know what? I'm ready too. I'm absolutely ready too. Oh man, Dan, you're amazing. I love it. Anna told me I was going to love you. I saw your video and I was like, this guy's cool. But the video did no justice. You are
Ah,
amazing, dude.
thank you, man. I appreciate that. You know, it
Yeah,
was a lot. And you're great too, man. Thank you. I'm just
thank
very
you.
grateful to have the opportunity to go on, you know, the podcast and being guests and sharing my story and feeling like now is the right time for me to tell my message because of the things I'm trying to bring to the world. You know, that's what I want to do. I really want to try and help people as much as possible know that if they have one foot in and one foot out, and one foot in is in and they can't put the other foot in to go full in because they have that fear, the false evidence appearing real, that
That's
they
it.
know that they have people to help them, you know, make that, get that other foot into the introspective work that they need to do so they could thrive, not just survive.
I love it. When you were talking about that prayer that you made, because I had an experience like that as well. A day where I was out in the middle of a park and I separated myself from everybody and I just prayed, and it was a full moon. I remember everything so vividly. But was that when you were 22? Was that your moment?
That was my moment. I went to the Air Force not knowing that my geographical cure was not the Air Force. I got let go in basic training because they said I had asthma. was not the place I was supposed to go. It was AA is where I was supposed to go in order to, deal with the issues I had to deal with. But yeah, 22 is when I got on my hands and knees and said, God, please help me. I don't know what to do. And I was always too scared. I would never think of suicide, because I don't want to. At that time, I believed that there was a hell, and you go to hell if you did that. But I still always had that thought of like I'm capable of so much more. I just need help. Somebody help me, and that's when I made that decision. You know.
So would you say that that was the moment, your moment that you took advantage of that
Yep.
feeling, that thought, that inspiration that came on the very next day, and because of what happened going to the AA meeting, you are now sitting in front of me today?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. It was. I gave up all my friends. I went in. I made all new friends. I created something when I was 23 called the Nine Ingredients of Love, copyrighted it. There's sincerity, courtesy, unselfishness, patience, tolerance, humility, good temper, generosity, and being guileless. I hung that on my refrigerator, read it night and day, learned to love myself, followed the steps, got some tough love from some old timers, who men, when we talk about masculinity, even though I was raised in a lesbian environment, I still got bit by the bug of they so-called, I don't like the word toxic masculinity. Let's call it uneducated masculinity, right? So my dad was in the picture, but he moved to Florida when I was 9. So basically I didn't have, that was another abandonment issue I had to deal with, right? But these men, as my sponsor, gave me the support I needed to learn how to be a good man, to learn how to communicate authentically, to learn how not to be a people pleaser, to accept a strong woman in my life and not be fearful of that relationship, that she's an asset, that instinctually she's a nurturer, right? And I was fighting against that. So there was a lot of things besides just learning about who Dan Stillman was. It was also learning about who I was also to become as a man and learn the right way to be a man.
Wow. Yeah, man. That's powerful. And I think that that's important for people to hear, right? I mean, this is what your intent is behind sharing your experiences, is for other people to be able to hear the pitfalls as well as the elevation. You know, it took a lot of courage for you to do the things that you were doing, and that courage was always on the inside of you. I think it's just a powerful thing that you were able to reach back inside yourself and always find, that lesson that you had learned from your guardian angel, and how you were able to apply that, and even more so, how you were able to recognize and move through the motions, creating action, creating a new lifestyle for yourself, and becoming, blossoming out of, like a root out of a dry ground.
Yeah, it's it. And I've had some good mentors along the way. When I was like 20, you've heard of Tony Robbins. Who hasn't, right? Like he was a mentor of mine. I bought all his cassettes. Wayne Dyer, like on Channel 13 when they did those things, I'd watch Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, like all these other outside influences. Brian Tracy, change your thinking, change your life. These books, all this stuff was a big influence on me. Doing the 12 steps and getting honest with myself, going to Jewish family services while I was in AA to deal with the trauma, to confront my aunt and uncle. Why did you leave me when I was 4? Talk to my dad. Why did you do this? And even, why did you move to Florida? Like, talk to my mom to find out exactly why she was so abusive and all these things. To heal the trauma, it takes a lot of work to do it and a lot of courage. And that's, you know, luckily for me, I had these outside influences, these mentors that helped me do it. Therefore, for me, it's like pay it forward, give it back. I want to help people who, might have gone through things even worse than I've gone through. And it's not even the fact that it's the situations, it's the feelings, because even though my situation is much different than probably your situation and whoever the guests that you have on your show. It's the feelings that we've experienced of shame, guilt. Those are universal, right? So if we could help each other, help each other learn how to deal with those things, we could have a better world.
I love that. If you put in good, good's going to come out, and that's a huge lesson that needs to be remembered. Just taking that time for all of those different influences and influencers and seeking that out. There's a scripture, Proverbs 1:5, where it says, "A man of understanding will seek unto wise counsel." And it's
Yeah.
very true, very true. If you want to change, if you want to have that internal change and you want to become like this better man, or for women, this better woman, then you may have to change your circles. You may have to get rid of some of those old influences, and that can be people, person, places, times, and things, right?
Yeah.
All of that stuff may have to disappear, because any of those things can be trigger points that will lead you right back to that old individual, and you become a part of that circle, that undying circle that continues to sink. But if you want to actually, elevate and go from survival mode to thriving mode, then yeah, changing your network, changing your circles, and changing your influences as well as your influencers, digesting and eating things that are healthy for you. And I don't just mean like food, although that's part of it, but your brain has to eat, your soul has to eat, your spirit has to eat. You've got to feed all four of these components with positive things in order for you really to start getting good out of your life.
Oh yeah, you're 100% correct, and it takes practice, and not just the word practice, but deliberate practice.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between practice and deliberate practice, and I try to, in my course, Get Real Deal and Heal, I have a video directly on just for deliberate practice, because I want people to understand that when you're deliberately doing something, you have to incorporate a mentor. You have to incorporate somebody who's your cheerleader, who could keep you on track and keep you on, the path. So it's important. It's very important.
I love it, man. I love it. There's so many more things that I wanted to talk with you about. I definitely would love to have you back on, and maybe if we can remember to talk about your how the empowerment phase that you were going through, and how you became so empowered to be able to go out and to speak with other individuals, or with individuals inside of your life that had maybe a negative effect at one point in time, but how you move beyond that. I think that deserves a lot more time than we have right now. Dan, it's been beautiful speaking with you. Tell me something. We're coming up to the close of this thing. So, how can people get in contact with you? Is the first question.
Well, I'm on social media. Holisticwellcare.coach is my personal coaching page, where I offer my Get Real Deal and Heal course. Also, my 3 integrative nutrition courses, 6-month programs as well. Then I'm kicking off an initiative for men. Right now, I'm trying to raise funds for it for Yomenga.com. Yomenga.com is exclusive care for the everyday man, where men could get all the services that they need all under one roof, both virtually and also brick and mortar. And then I have Holistic WellCare Advisors, which is a platform for everyone, where it's more of like a repository where practitioners could sign up depending on what they do, and people could come to that website and find a practitioner that's near to them to get the services they need. So social media, Instagram, Facebook, that's where I'm at. LinkedIn, that's where you could find me.
Beautiful, awesome. Do you have any final words you'd like to share with the audience?
I just want to say thank you for having me, Joel. I really appreciate it. I'm going to hold you to that thing where we could go and sit down in front of people, young people, and you know, share our wisdom and help them out. And I just want to tell people, who, if you're suffering right now, you're not alone. Joel and we're here to help you, and you probably have a bunch of other people, hopefully, that could help you. Don't be scared to get help. Do not be scared, because your life is worth it, and you are capable of so much more.
Awesome. Awesome. Dan, I will be contacting you soon, man, so we can start discussing how we can make that happen. All right.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for having me.
It's been my pleasure to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace. Hey, everybody. I told you Dan was going to be amazing. Dan Stillman is an inspiration in the living flesh. And if you're in New Jersey, you need to get in contact with him. If you're from the age of 20 to 29, he specializes in speaking with you. But from the sounds of it, he can help out you parents that have teenagers in your house, as well as you adults, young men that have raised up above the age of 30. Dan has a wealth of information, knowledge, and inspiration that he is willing to hand out and to help you out with. And so you ought to support his cause. Some of those things that you just want to remember is, he said it's okay to have, emotions. And, I think we were talking mostly about negative emotions. It's not okay to get stuck in those emotions. And I think that was one of those key points that he was hitting, because a lot of his life had these different types of emotions and those different negative impacts, but he didn't get stuck in it. He managed to get himself out through the support of many mentors and his godmother, and through God, his faith. And we're definitely grateful to hear his story. So remember, everywhere that you are, as much as it starts with you, it starts with me. Peace.